I did a conference once where, I went with Ashley, where I like started talking like this and told people about how I would talk to them when they came into the spa and it would be really soothing. And I was just like trying to set the tone to help them understand that like how they project themselves really matters, instead of like, hey girl, how's it going? Like that's a vibe, but there's also another vibe if you're looking to have like a luxury service.
Yeah.
And I like kept going in this like really like quiet voice. And I was like, okay, you guys understand where I'm going and that's obnoxious. So I'm sorry. And then I like kept going with my talk the way that I normally am. And I had somebody come up to me later and she's like, it wasn't obnoxious. It was great.
It was
and if you
soothing.
ever start like a meditation podcast, tell me, because I will listen to every single one of them. And I was like, wow, okay. And I've literally thought about it probably once a month since then, of like, I could totally do like guided meditations. And that's all. That's as far as the thought goes. There's zero action taken. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Okay. So, it's your first time. Welcome to Backstage Pass at PLA.
I was about to say, are we starting?
We started.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hi.
So this is Caitlin. Can you tell us? So Caitlin is like part of the heart and soul of PLA. And that like working with you makes me so happy. But you are working mostly on a new project right now. So can you tell us, like, you were the first PLA employee?
Not technically.
Not technically,
because I was 1099. So
you were the first PLA person.
Yeah.
Wasn't Michelle and her family?
Not Michelle and her family.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started helping Michelle back in 2018. So when this was just like a baby idea, I was a client of her sister, Lana. Lana's our president. And she knew what I did. I was in marketing and I would, when you're a client, you bitch about work. And and that's what I would do with Lana. Like I would just complain about work, but also talk about work.
You were in social media and marketing.
I was in social media and email marketing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I would tell Lana about my life before I fell asleep. And one day she was like, oh, my sister needs help with marketing. Do you want to talk to her? And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. So I met Michelle and Lana at the Starbucks across from their salon. And I remember, like, based on what Lana said, like, they needed help with the salon. So I did what marketers do. I did a whole presentation on how I could increase sales at their salon, how I could get new clients by they didn't have a Facebook like presence at all. They didn't have an Instagram presence. Their Yelp was kind of not updated by anyone but the customers. So I was like, oh, I could do this, this, and this. And all I want is free lashes and free pedicures. And Michelle listened to the whole presentation. And it only took me like 20 minutes. But at the end, she was like, that's great. I don't need help with that. Because
what did she actually want?
She wanted help with PLA. So
like,
not the salon. So this was before.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you totally
pitched,
created this presentation for a salon, and it was a lash business.
And it was a lash business.
Okay.
And so then she proceeded to tell me all about her idea for this company. And I found out much later that I was the first person she'd ever talked to about it outside of her family. So, and I knew, and like, it was so funny because you would think like she was just getting started. But as soon as I said, yes, I can help you, like, she handed me a stack of products because Michelle started a lot earlier than I think we talk about when it comes to PLA, because even though like PLA like hard launched August 2018, she was already teaching. Like the first couple of things I did for her was I was making these flyers that she would post on Facebook that would say like, I'm coming to Dallas to teach a lash class. And it would say like included a kit. And so those were the first things I helped with her. And she was already including all of her PLA, like lashes, glue, tweezers.
Oh.
Yeah. So she'd already started sourcing for her salon because at the time, I think Paris Nails and Spa had like 18 lash artists. So she couldn't afford to buy a $65 bottle of glue for 18 women
That's
once
a lot
week.
of lash artists.
It's a lot of lash artists. That's a lot of glue. So she started sourcing way before PLA even started. And then when she would teach the classes across the country with her products, the students would say, hey, can I buy this? And she'd be like, no. Because, because she didn't have the line yet. So I think she planted the seed for PLA or Paris Lash Academy at the time a lot earlier. And then she realized, I'm going to actually try to do this. So I did. I helped Michelle for like 2 years in exchange for free lashes.
Wow.
Yep. And free petties. And I still helped with her salon Instagram account because I told her, like, you still really need one.
Okay.
And then COVID happened. And I don't know. I know this isn't what many in the beauty industry experienced, but I come from a corporate background. I worked for a 9-to-5 office, and COVID, I started working from home.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, my 40-hour work week took 15 to 20 hours a week, and I had all this free time. So I started helping Michelle more and more and more. And like the world didn't necessarily reopen.
But PLA grew.
And so PLA started to grow. And so it was like August 2020, I started actually, I think it was in the spring, I started charging Michelle. So I was like.
So after 2 years, you started charging.
I started charging. I said also I wasn't getting my lashes done for free because the salon was closed.
Ah, fair.
So what am I getting out of this?
Yeah.
In the nicest way.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Most of the people listening to this are business owners. And
yes,
they completely
and we
understand.
don't do things for free.
We work, and hopefully we love what we do, and that's wonderful. But we can't do it for free.
We can't do it for free, and if you can't do it for free, petties, you got to do it for something.
Yeah.
So and that's when I became a 1099, and I would charge her by the hour, and I would invoice Michelle at the end of each month, and then sometimes I would forget, and then. I think Fong would probably be really annoyed because he'd have to pay me bigger checks. But when I would forget to invoice, I felt guilty. But because to me, it was always easy. Like the things I was helping her with, it just came naturally to me because that's what I did for my career.
Yeah.
And then that August, I went to her house and we filmed a bunch of YouTube videos. And it was October. That's when she was like, quit your job and come work for me. And I said no, and then
oh my gosh, I was just going to ask you if it was an easy decision.
Oh no,
okay.
Because I couldn't. In the nicest way, and I don't want to offend anyone who listens to the podcast, but I was like, lash extensions, this isn't real. I know she's making
people
money.
Don't think it's real,
and I was like, I can't quit my great job with benefits, and I had a 401k, and I had stability, and she didn't have any of that, and she only had. 2 people at her warehouse at the time, and she had just bought this building, and obviously not this building, but 2 buildings ago, and I just didn't think it could be real. And then I said, in order to quit my job, you need to pay me this much because, again, no benefits, no anything. And she's like, I can't afford that. And I said, okay. And 2 weeks later, she did hire someone else. She found someone else, and then 2 weeks later came back to me and offered me what I asked for. And so I said, okay. And
see, for us as lash artists, that's when our client, when our client looks at us and they're like, oh no, I can find it cheaper somewhere else. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck.
That's what I
That's
thought.
what that feels like.
And it's the real world, right? Because it was a huge risk quitting I worked for a company that had 3,000 employees, and it was a cool job. I have nothing against my last company, but quitting to come sell lash extensions when at the time I still didn't really know what 5D meant, even though I kept writing it in captions. It was scary. It was very scary, but I think many times in my career, I have found that the biggest risks come with the biggest rewards. And it can be very scary, and even sometimes was this the right decision? But I think joining Michelle is probably the best decision in my career. So
that's so exciting. I love hearing that because, okay, first, the biggest risks do come with the great rewards. I mean, sometimes they don't pay off, but oftentimes they pay off huge.
And often it doesn't pay off immediately.
Right.
Because even, for Michelle, it took 2 years for her to even hire a marketing person, right? So
She was taking a huge risk on you too.
Yes, and that's what she said. And I know this. She cut her own salary in order to hire me. And like, what if it didn't work out?
Yeah.
Like, that's shitty for her. That's scary for, like, she's investing in me, but I'm also investing my life in her hands. And
it's a good thing you made it work.
Yeah.
I think that's an understatement. The first time I saw you guys together, you were on stage and she was up there just like, I caught the last 10 minutes of your guys' talk and she was up there just beaming about you and like telling everybody in the audience, because they were talking about like being business owners and hiring people, and she was talking about what you meant to PLA and like what you meant to her and how it was a huge risk for her to take you on and pay you what you needed in order to make it work. But that investment in you was like, how did she say it? I don't even remember what she said exactly, but like that investment in you, she was like, you have to make sure that your investment in the person that you're hiring, that the reward is going to pay off bigger than that. And if it is, then it's worth it.
And her and I have always talked about, especially, and you know, we've learned this from Jeff too, anyone we've ever hired at PLA, even when it's so scary because the salary's just bigger than any salary we've paid before. Like that's happened many times. Jeff is a perfect example. He came with many years of experience. His salary was going to be bigger than what both of us made, but they pay for themselves.
Right.
Like anytime you hire, they should pay for themselves. If you're hiring another lash artist even under you, it's because they're going to take business that you're turning away, right? So even though I was just an investment at the time, I paid for myself in a week.
That's wild.
Actually, yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So then you have been with PLA for almost the entire journey. And I know that innovation is, ever since I met Michelle, like that was the theme of our conversations, of her heart, of the company. Everything was all about like innovation and being able to invent and create things that help lash artists and are the things that she wanted as a lash artist, or she imagined as a lash artist, that would have made her life easier. And then with PLA, she's been able to like bring so many of those dreams to fruition, and so many things that like people just don't even know about, right, in the lash industry, but that she and PLA created. And so my question for you is, like, you've watched as, I'm going to quote unquote, an outsider, just because you're not a lash artist.
No, yeah.
So you've watched from a completely different perspective than like I had coming onto the company, because I was all geeked out about it, right? And I'm just wondering what your experience was like watching her innovate and watching her grow, and like seeing how her and you and PLA were growing by leaps and bounds, because like this all happened real fast.
I think one thing that people don't get to see is the work that goes into launching a product. I have so many thoughts when we talk about Michelle and innovation, and I want to shout out Lana too, because many of the products we sell were invented by Lana.
Okay, awesome.
And I think one thing I regret, even though it's not my mind, is how late we got into the game for patents. I think because there's so many things that when we released it, we were the first ones to release it, and then we watched other brands get it 6 to 10 months later. Like it's wild.
With like the same names.
With yeah. Like there's one very, very, very popular product that we did not invent. We did not invent it, but it's used all over the industry right now. And someone showed it to we get vendor packages every day.
Yeah.
From vendors and lash manufacturers. And they sent us something and we thought it was really cool. And Michelle's like, oh, I can make that. I'm not going to buy it from this manufacturer because, you know, she has 5 of her own.
Yeah.
And at the time, they called it something. And when we ended up making it ourselves and we brought it on, I was like, I think we should name it this. And it wasn't called that by the original manufacturer.
Can you tell us what you're talking about? I mean, it's a backstage pass. Like, we're supposed to be open about those things.
We can cut it out later.
Cool.
It's very lashes.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I just wanted you to say it.
Yeah. Like it's, you know.
So what did they call them?
They called it like a 4D fan. but it wasn't a 4D fan. It was different.
Yeah.
And so I called it something else for marketing purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we put it on all of our boxes. And now every other brand calls it what we call it, not what the manufacturer calls it. So that's just funny. But innovation, Michelle's really funny when she gets an idea. I've seen it in person when something just like lights up, and she like there was this one time when we were working on Tad, and I was still at PLA. It was before I came over, but we were sitting in her room. I was sitting in a chair, and she was sitting on the floor. I think I was going over like metrics, like just like last month's data, and we had it on the TV, and I had a spreadsheet pulled open, and she just whipped around and looked at me and she said, "What if we do this?" And she grabbed her paper and started drawing. And that's what she came up with, the microstructure of our Tad lashes. Like it just hit her when we were talking about something totally different. She called me the other day, and this was like 2 weeks ago, and she said, "I had the best idea in church today." And I was like, "Let me hear it." And then, the next day, it was a Monday. It was President's Day because we were off work. She came into work on Monday when no one was in the building, and she FaceTimed me, and she was in our studio lashing because she had an idea and she had to come see if she could do it in real life. So she just gets these ideas, right? And she'll try forever to make them happen. And sometimes it requires her to go back to Vietnam. Sometimes she can do it virtually. But she makes it happen. And I'm not an inventor. I don't think I've ever come up with a product idea in my life. And I feel like she does it almost monthly, which is so weird. I was filling out some paperwork the other day for Tad, and it hit me that in 2024, she applied for 2 patents. And she also came out with her own formulation for a cleanser, which was our pure cleanser that we worked on for like 2 years. But so she now has the first pharmacist approved cleanser made in an FDA facility and 2 patents in 1 year. Like, that's not normal. If you think about it, like,
but it is around here. I think everybody looks at it and they're like, "Oh yeah, cool, this is happening again." Like, great.
And it's so cool too when I remember one time we were talking. It might have been during inventory. It was like a random time, but it hit one of our staff, Andrew. I remember him saying, "Did you know Michelle like invented half the things in this building?" And I was like, "Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
that's why we're really freaking cool."
Yeah.
Like, so it's just, I don't know, it's really special. And then again, it goes back to, I wish she would have protected so many of her ideas earlier, because when I see other brands release things, I've always just laughed on the inside. Well, we're first, but we're first because we have Michelle.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the only way to describe it. And my job, and I've always joked about this, is she comes up with the ideas and I just sell it. Like whenever she comes up with, it doesn't matter.
All. You don't do much.
No,
you just sell it.
Whatever she wants to do.
You guys have no idea how much Caitlin works. I'm just saying. Okay.
Thank you. But that's what keeps it fun. Like we're not just selling lash trays.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. I have something on my desk right now. I brought an idea to her, and she had it created less than a week later.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, "Wait, are you kidding me? This is possible?" And I have something on my desk right now. I'll actually be asking for your thoughts on it. And Ashley saw it yesterday, and she was like, "I need to record this. I'm going to remember this moment for the rest of my life." And I've never seen an idea come to fruition that fast. And I think it's going to be patented, actually.
Oh yeah. It will.
And it's just so cool. But knowing the history behind that, it's something that I like to shout from the rooftops at this point, because I don't think a lot of the people in the industry understand how much Michelle has single-handedly changed the industry.
And I think because and I want to say this in all fairness, she couldn't have done this 4 years ago. You know what I mean?
No.
But because of the team that she's built in Vietnam, it's very easy for her to come up with an idea, or for Lana to come up with an idea and go back and forth to make it happen. I have videos of, so Lana, this was probably in 2023, I want to say. 2023, Lana got really into classes.
Oh my gosh, the amount of certificates that I've seen are astounding.
There's nothing like that for me, but for in the lash industry, all these trainers. But Lana was going, well, and also because Michelle would be interested in taking a class, and people stopped letting Michelle come to classes. So if she signed up, they would just say, sorry, you can't come. None of my business. So Lana started taking just a ton of classes in 2023. And one of the classes she was taking, because she was super interested at the time, was like the wet set look, because that was super popular in 2023. I think it's still popular now, but
It's very popular now still.
Yeah. So it's okay. When she was taking the classes, she would come home and we would do sets with the products we had, which was obviously like our ProMades. She would use our wispy ProMades to try to achieve the look. And then she started using our pre-made spikes, which have glue on the base to about midway of the spike. And they're a super popular item. But she wanted no glue on the spikes at all. And she wanted it to be super easy. So she went back and forth with the manufacturer on how do you make a perfect unfan fan, which you would think would be very easy. And I remember she would get boxes and she'd come to show me. And I think I have 3 different videos of Lana sitting in my office showing me prototypes of our first wet set lashes. In 2023. And they started in 07, and then we released them in 05, and then we released them in 03, and then we released them in brown. And it's all because she was trying to think of an easier way to achieve a set that she learned about in a class.
Right,
so,
and with consistency. If you don't know what we're talking about right now, it's lashes that are 5 little lashes together on a sticky strip, and then there's about 1 millimeter of space, and then 5 little lashes, maybe half a millimeter even, but there's very clearly enough space in between each little segment of like 5 lashes that are next to each other on the strip, so you don't have to wonder how many like super fine lashes you're picking up at a time. You can just go in, pick up the whole little, I don't want to call it a chunk or a segment because they're very small, but a whole little segment that are unattached lashes that are perfectly next to each other. And it makes like wet sets and angel lash looks and all of that stuff just so much easier.
And I remember thinking like, this is so simple, but it still took her back and forth with our manufacturers 5 months to get it perfect how she wanted it. And we have so many sets done with those lashes that weren't even the final product. So we never even posted those on social media. But, she would get the lashes. She would grab someone from the team, go do the set and be like, no, I still need to change this, and this. And it was so much back and forth. And then like same thing with Michelle and ProMade 2.0, the amount of prototypes of ProMade 2.0 and the amount of sets that we did to make sure it was easy to use, that the lashes stayed together, that it actually looked good once it was on. Like, it's not just, I have an idea, I'm going to make it happen. It's, I have an idea, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make sure it looks right and it's achieving the whole purpose I want to make it. Like, because if it doesn't look good on the client, then we're not going to sell it, obviously, because no one's going to buy it. So I don't know. It's just watching the two of them come up with these ideas and make it happen. It's just been really, really cool. It's just so cool.
It is so cool. And like the item, the thing I have on my desk right now, like that is the very first rendition of it. Yeah. And so we got it and immediately knew the things that needed to be changed about it. And so, yeah, I think that you drawing attention to the amount of work that goes into these things that just appear on the market one day and seem like magic. And they're like, oh, it was a good idea. And then it happened. It's like, there was actually a lot that went into this.
And I think it, because of, how she is, like when she decided I'm going to do nails, you would think that's really easy. Like I go to Cosmoprof shows all the time and there's all these nail manufacturers, but when even if she's not inventing the product, she still wants something that's better than what's currently on the market. So like our formulation for our nail polish, she didn't just grab the most common or most popular product that was available from private label manufacturers.
Been created.
She developed a formula with the chemist that was, 13 free, that was HEMA free, that was going to help nail artists because what is available on the market isn't the healthiest option. One of the cool things I got to do was go to our wax manufacturer when we launched wax, an exact same thing. They said, your product is way better than the one right next to it, even though it's coming from the same place because the ingredients you guys chose to use.
Right.
So yes, the invention is huge and so cool, but can I say it? Well, yes, I know I've already said a couple bad words, but she doesn't half-ass anything.
Right.
She's never going to just throw something up on our website because she thinks it's going to make money. She's going to always choose the items to make it better and do everything she can to offer the best quality to the people buying from us. And I just think that's rare, especially when I think, again, because I'm not from the beauty industry, my first step was, working here at PLA. Like when we go to these shows and I see, or even when I'm looking at, doing competitive analysis, looking at what's available online and especially with like what we're doing right now with TAD, like TikTok Shop and Amazon are so huge for the consumer market of lashes. And I buy things just to see them and they're such bad quality. And I've seen that with lash trays too. Like I can feel lash tray and be like, ugh, this is gross. But people they're so desperate to put their name on something. They'll grab the first thing available.
Right.
And they'll just, toss it on a website. And that's just not who Michelle is.
I love that. Yeah. So you've mentioned TAD a couple of times, but we haven't talked about what it is. I know how I would talk about it, but will you please tell us what is TAD?
TAD is a consumer product line. It's DIY lash clusters for consumers to put on themselves.
Okay. What is innovative about it?
See, I simplify everything.
We're missing a really big chunk right now.
And I think this goes back to let's make things better. So Michelle is the most, and I'm not like sensitive emotionally. Like she's sensitive. Like her skin.
Yeah, I know.
Her eyes. Her eyes.
Yeah.
One of Michelle's favorite things in the world is perfume, and she's allergic to almost every perfume. Like she's a very sensitive person. Like just has a lot of allergies.
She has sensitivities.
She's all sensitivities. And so whenever she would get her lashes done, which is crazy to think because a couple of years ago she was always getting her lashes done, they're off in 2 days. Like she either picks them off or she removes them herself because they just bother her and she just like can't stop.
I do notice her touching her eyes a lot.
Yes, like she's just very sensitive. And so she started wearing DIY lashes. She started wearing a couple of like when we would go to shows, she would see another brand has a DIY lash line and she would just buy them because she loves the look of lashes, but she hates the way they feel. And she wasn't always like this either. And I think that's what I see happens a lot in lash groups too. Like women develop sensitivities. You are one of them too because you wear DIYs as well. So she had ideas to make them better, like many things she does. And so for about a year, she was going back and forth with Vietnam to try to make DIY lashes because this was also in tandem with when she was developing ProMade 2.0. So she was working on ProMade 2.0 to be this really cool thing that wraps. And then she was working on DIY lashes and she wanted them to wrap. And I think just wrapping was in her head in 2023. And she couldn't do it. She just couldn't make what she pictured with the way that I guess the manufacturing capabilities that were available to her.
Yeah, her and we've talked about it. Like she explained all of the ways
she tried
to make this microstructure that's at the base of these lash segments, which actually goes up in between your natural lashes to wrap the segment around the natural lashes essentially like 3/4 of the way. It doesn't cover the top, but that's what we mean when we say that the segments actually wrap, the DIY lashes wrap. They do. It's because they go up in between the lashes as well as underneath them. And I just wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. It's really cool. So when ProMade, right before ProMade 2.0 came out and right before TAD came out, that's when I came onto the company. And so I was able to observe and you got where
to go.
It was at. But she explained to me all of the different ways that she tried to make this microstructure on the base.
And it wasn't just the microstructure. Like she had her little checklist of things because she wore DIY lashes for 2 years before she started attempting to do them herself. So it wasn't just the microstructure that was a part of it. And that was the moment when she like turned around to me in the meeting was like, we could do it just like this. And she drew her little hooks and we have drawings of that. But she also wanted to make sure they never poked her and that when she woke up in the morning, they looked exactly how they did on day one and that they lasted a couple days. So you didn't have to put them on every day. And they always looked consistent. So it was just all these little things on her checklist that she couldn't figure out how to do it with what she had.
Yeah.
And so that's what took her to 3D printing. So she learned about 3D printing. She decided she wanted to try to 3D print these segments. And she went to probably, I don't know, so that we found like 6 different 3D printer companies that specialize in 3D printing. And they all just said no. Like what
like
cannot be
laughed
done.
and said no.
Yes, because it was either, yes, we can print you a lash that you could put on your eye, but it'll take like 24 hours to print one.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was, yes, we can print tons of lashes for you, and it's going to be like, an inch
The size
long.
of your face.
The size of your face. So she couldn't find, what she needed. And when she found our partner, so Tad is partnered with OPT, which is I don't want to call it mini, but they specialize in
Micro,
thank you, 3D printing
with
scale.
With material that is soft and flexible.
But it was a material that didn't exist.
Right.
So like when we found them, they said, yes, we can do this for you. It was not a month later we had lashes that we sell today. It was
months and months and months and months.
I think it was a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like the first time they went out there was like winter of 2023, like in the very beginning of the year. And we didn't release our product line until September 2024. So over a year later. Over a year and a half later.
I have so many thoughts right now, but one of them is that I think part of the reason that this conversation is valuable is because I think so many lash artists and so many beauty professionals have manufacturers DMing them and going, oh, hey, I can set you up with a product line and you can have the whole thing in like a month or two.
Dear sir, ma'am, madam.
Right. Yes. Dear madam. And what actually goes into the products that we want to live our life in is an extraordinary amount of time and patience work and I want to say the word, I want like run around, but like back and forth, right? And so if it seems too fast and too easy and too good to be true,
it is.
It is.
Yeah. That's because I'm just even thinking, how many times have you been to Boston? How many times has Michelle been to Boston? Like, how many times did they come to us? How many
meetings have we had?
Oh my God, weekly meetings with them to talk about one hair fiber. Like I'm over here, like give me a product I can sell already. Like come on.
And I'm sitting there going, look at this 1/4 millimeter.
But it's just, and so we don't sell DIY lash clusters that you can put on yourself. We sell the world's first 3D printed lashes, the first lashes made in the United States, the only lashes in the world that work with your body temperature because they will always bounce back based on your body temperature, and the only lashes available with the microstructure. Like these are a product that don't exist in not just one way, in many, many, many different ways.
Yeah.
And because, she's learned from not doing it in the past, it's patent pending. We're still pending, but it's going really well. And I mean, it's so funny. We launched back in September, but I feel like we're actually launching in 2 weeks because just like with everything, when you're inventing something and you're doing something new, it slightly changes and you have to go back and forth. And so even though we've been selling since September, we're actually doing a soft launch, like relaunching again with brand new packaging, because what we started out with in September is going to change now. And
it's going to be more user friendly.
It's more user friendly. And even though she loved it, she loved the way it was. Again, it goes back to how easy is it for the end user. She just wanted to change it again. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, whatever you make, I'll sell.
So one of the things that I want to point out about them, and then we can move on, but I think it's vitally important. As lash artists, we often don't have our own lashes done, or we have crap lashes because we put ourselves last. Like we serve everybody else. We take care of everybody else. We say yes to everybody else. And then we look in the mirror and we're like, And so I know a lot of lash artists that wear DIY lashes. And you touched on something that I think it's important to elaborate on, and that's your body temperature. And so the structure of the lash, whatever, like it looks like a fiber, but the structure of the lash, the base of the segment, the lash itself, and the microstructure are all the same material. And that material is like ultimately flexible.
Yeah.
And
3D memory flex technology.
It's 3D memory flex technology. And it will never poke you. It will never hurt. Like the corners of it, like where the lash meets the segment at the bottom, it's not like a plastic bar or something
or that little clear band that they're all attached.
It's not any of that. It is meant to be at its most flexible and softest at your body temperature, like you said. So like there aren't corners that poke you. And I have a fresh set on right now, and I can't feel them and I can't see them and I can't tell that they're there. And there's lashes that I've used before that are incredibly comfortable comparatively to other brands that are out there. These are the only ones I've ever used, and I'm allergic to eyelash extensions. These are the only ones that I've ever used that I can't actually feel.
And I've tried enough now to know that these are really, really good. And even like the girls here who were wearing DIY lashes before Michelle ever started this journey, they've all thrown all their lashes away because they just want these. And anyone here who works at PLA, because the TAD team is quite small, will drop anything to get free lashes from TAD. They'll come do a video for us just because they're so comfortable. And I mean, all of us used to fight over,
the couple of segments that would come in. I remember
they would land and we'd be like, those are mine.
Yes, I still do that. Yeah. Like with new styles that we're testing, that we're going to be coming out with, that you're going to be coming out with in the future. I still do that. I'm like, Michelle, what's on your desk? Give them to me.
It's so cool. And that's one of the things, because, TAD's so new, is we launched with our first style. We have 2 more styles approved from our partners OPT, and it's just going to keep going. We're just going to keep releasing styles, which is, it gives Michelle, and I know you've been a part of that, Lana's been a part of that. You all kind of have the styles you chose and designed. Like Bliss that's launching is something you drew on a piece of paper. Like it's just, so now you get to feel that. Like you have this product coming out at PLA, but you got to do it with TAD too. And I think when you're around her, and I think when you have the freedom to be creative and just try new things, it's really, really cool. And I don't think there's a lot of that in this industry that I've seen.
Same.
I just don't. I think there are a lot of people with ideas though. And I think if you can find someone to pitch your ideas to, I know Michelle's always open to hearing ideas.
I have people come to me all the time and they're like, I had this idea and I know it's going to go nowhere if you guys can't do something with it, because they know that they don't have the resources to pursue creating it.
Yeah. And like I said, 2019 Michelle could not have made ProMade 2.0 because, at the time she only had 1 manufacturer with 5 employees. Now she has 700 women and she has a dedicated team there that can play with her, because when she has an idea, we also have very smart women overseas that make it a reality. So it's just very cool. It's just so cool.
And it's going to come out later, but we're recording this the day before International Women's Day. And so that's just been on my mind a lot with what we're doing in the creative department at PLA. But I think it's so cool to know that there are so many women's lives that she and her family have, I would say, kind of single-handedly changed and transformed. And that's not even like talking about the people who use these inventions and these products every single day. Or
the women who wear them.
Right.
Because for every one customer that buys from PLA, they're probably putting them on 20 clients a week? I don't know what an average is.
It's a lot. One of the things that I would mention, though, is for lash artists specifically, if we're having this conversation about DIY lashes and you're feeling a little bit triggered, please understand that these are a beautiful, waterproof, washable, option for you to be able to provide as a service to
Yeah.
clients that either can't get lash extensions done or don't have the finances to invest fully in lash extensions, or just that they only want them for a weekend and they're not going to leave them on permanently. This is a really great solution. You can offer it as a service. And if you have questions about that, feel free to contact our customer service team or like contact me on Instagram or something and ask me about it. But please know that these can work for your benefit too, instead of against you.
And I also think that was one of the things, Michelle, when she started this, she's like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, this is scary. Because she loves the lash industry. That's her heart and soul. And one of the things that I always think about is there's going to be women who buy box dye. And there's going to be women who go to a hairstylist and pay $400 to get their hair dyed.
Always.
I am not a box dye person. I will always go get my nails done, my hair done, anything, because I don't have the time, patience to learn how to do it myself. My mother, on the other hand, she used to wear that cap and pull out her own highlights and dye them blonde, So she's a DIYer, but there's enough eyeballs in the world. That's what I'm a firm believer there.
And what baffles me is I travel a lot, right? You travel quite a lot too. I meet people all over the place and we talk about eyelashes, and it's still so funny to me how many people are baffled at like what we do and how we do it, and the fact that this industry exists. And I'm like, oh, it's like, it's real big.
I know. I'm
like,
always
it's
like,
really, really big.
my go-to answer is I
work
in beauty retail.
Oh, that's simplifying it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense because otherwise it's a really complicated question for you to answer yourself. I'm like, oh, I've done lashes forever. Okay, cool. I guess I would say I'm sure we'll have you back on the podcast again.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that somebody could know about TAD or PLA that we haven't talked about, like if you were put in front of somebody and you were allowed one thing to tell them about PLA, oh my gosh, your face, I'm so sorry, I'm sabotaging you. What would that one thing be?
I don't know. That's a really hard one.
Okay.
If I could just tell one, I would say we're just a lash company that makes really cool products, really cool, high quality products.
I love that.
Because at the end of the day, that's all we do. We're just selling lashes
and wax and nails.
But I think, we're just a really cool company.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a really special place.
Yeah.
And I get to be friends with you.
Hey.
I love that. Okay, if you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to comment. Please feel free to let us know. If you have questions for Caitlin, sorry, throwing you under the bus here, and her brilliant marketing mind, throw them at us. We want to help. I'll help. Caitlin will help.
I know. I thought this was going to be about like marketing or something, but I'm
surprised.
Hey.
We'll have you back on, and it'll be about marketing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. No, this was really cool.
Yeah.
The setup looks really great in here.
Thanks. It's about to change.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think, one of the things we always talked about was having a podcast. So this is really cool that you made it happen.
I didn't make it happen. The team made it happen, but it's really exciting. So thank you so much for being here with us. I hope you learned a lot. And come on back next time. I don't know who our next guest is, so it's going to be a mystery for you and for me. I guarantee it's going to be a good one, though.